Well, hey there everyone. So I'm feeling particularly unmotivated this week. So I'm gonna do a quick project, which means I'm gonna be sewing a dress. So I was looking in my fabric stash, and in an effort to go through my fabric stash, I'm gonna use some of this material that I found. I think I got this actually from my mom, so sustainable. It's this like big thing at Gingham that she had, and it like hurts my eyes to look at, kind of gingham. So we're gonna be using that because I wanted to get it out of my stash, and I feel like that's a very nice like summery material because it's kind of a lighter material. You know, the pattern's cute if it doesn't kill your eyes and hypnotize you while you're looking at it, which this one does. So I'm gonna be using that, and we're gonna make a little summer dress. The vision that I have for this dress is basically just like a little short little thing with ties to the shoulders. I'm very into ties to the shoulders right now because they're adjustable and it makes my job easier. So ties to the shoulders, big old ones, and then just like a cute little sweetheart neckline. That's kind of the vibe. So the pattern that I'm going to be using for the bodice is the pattern that I used for when I made that green Renaissance dress that paired with the black corset that I'd made in that video. So that's that pattern. I forgot where I got that pattern from, but if you look in that video, I'm sure you'll find a trail somewhere. So that's what I use for the bodice, and then for the straps, they're just gonna be strips, and then for the skirt, it's just gonna be rectangles. But I'm going to put pockets in it this time because I want to. I feel like whenever I make things, I always like try and skip steps to make it easier, which particularly means pockets, although I love having pockets. I hate going through the effort, but I want to make my clothes things that I want to wear more often rather than just make it for a video and toss in my closet. So I'm putting pockets in this bad boy. So yeah, we are going to do this pattern. So in an effort to use as little material as possible, because I do only have like a limited amount, I kind of goofed up a little bit. So for the bodice, I was not going to do a lining. I was going to do just a facing. But for the back, I cut out two pieces because I did want it to be scrunchied, but I didn't read my own pattern where I wrote extend for stretchy. I didn't extend it. I thought I meant that it was extended already for the elastic. So I cut it regularly. So I really didn't have to cut out two layers for the back piece, but I did anyway. So ignore that. But the front does get just a little facing piece that's going to be tacked on to hide the exposed seams. So I'm going to cut those out and then meet you back here in a little bit. Alright, now that those are cut out, let's go ahead and prep the straps so we can get those out of the way. So pretty much I just have those 4 strips. I'm going to fold them in half and then sew them right sides together and then close one of the ends, turn them right sides out, and then iron them. And so I have 4 of those. So those are going to be out of the way so that when I put the bodice facing and lining on, I can just tuck them in. So now for the bodice, the construction is very simple. So I first need to put the 2 darts in the front bodice piece. Then once I do that, I can add the facing onto the front. So that is when I do need to sandwich in my little exposed edges of the straps. And then I'm just going to pin it, sew it all the way around, clip the edges, and then turn it right sides out and iron it. And then for the back, again, ignore that it's 2 complete layers. You're going to place them right sides together and then also tuck in the straps and sew all the way along the top, turn it right sides out, and then iron it again. And then to connect the front bodice piece to the back bodice piece, we're going to do that little weird thing where we open the back bodice piece, sandwich in right sides together, the front bodice piece, sew it, and then turn it right sides out. It'll make more sense, and then do the same thing to the other side, so when you see this, it'll make more sense. And so pretty much, that was rude. That's nice. Alright, so pretty much the bodice is done now, so we can move on to the skirt. So I will see you in a little bit. So again, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the straps. So I'm going to take those strips, fold them right sides together, and then sew it down, and then close the end. Clip the corners, and then turn it right sides out and iron it. Now for the bodice, the first thing that we have to do is we have to sew in those 2 darts at the front. From there, we can sew on the facing onto the front. So while we do this, we're going to sandwich in the raw side of the straps and then pin the facing right sides together, sew it all the way, and then clip the corners, turn it right sides out, and then iron it. And after I did iron this, I did go back and I did a zigzag stitch on the edge of the facing just so that it doesn't fray. Now for the back of the bodice, we're going to do the same thing as the front, where we're going to sandwich these straps in between the outer fabric and the lining, and then sew all the way along the top, and then turn it right sides out and then iron it. Now to connect the front bodice piece to the back bodice piece, we're going to lay the back bodice piece right sides out, and then we're going to pin the front bodice piece right sides together, then sandwich it into the lining and sew down that line, and then turn it right sides out. Then we will do the same with the other side, and then this bodice is done. Alright, now for the skirt, so we do have the 2 separate rectangles, but before we sew those together, we're going to sew on the pockets. So the pockets get sewn on 3 inches down from the top. Make sure it's measured, otherwise it's not going to be sewn correctly. They're going to be sewn right sides together on each side of the 2 panels of the skirt. Then once you do that, you flip the pockets out and then iron those out, and then you can start sewing the skirts together. So placing the skirt right sides together, you're going to sew at the top, go around the pocket, and then sew all the way down, and do that on both sides. And then to get the skirt the same size as the bodice, I'm going to put 2 gathering stitches around the top and then gather it to about the size of the bodice, and then the bodice can be sewn right sides together onto the skirt. And then the last thing that I need to do is to hem this. So I did end up taking off 14 inches because I wasn't sure what length I wanted this, but I did decide on above the knee. So after I shortened it, I just hemmed it, and then this bad boy is ready for the final look. Now for the skirt, again, I did sew these pockets down 3 inches from the top, and you just sew them on each side of each panel of the skirt. Once you've ironed the pockets out, then you can start to sew the two skirt panels together. So right sides together, you're going to pin this so that it's sewn along the top, around the pocket, and then down towards the bottom. And I did zigzag stitch the edge of the skirt and around the pocket to cut down on fraying. Once the two panels were sewn together, I could sew in my two basting stitches around the top edge of the skirt so that I can gather it to the right size for the bodice. Once that's gathered to the right size, I can go ahead and sew the bodice right sides together onto the skirt. After I shortened the skirt 14 inches, I could go ahead and hem this thing. And then the last step for the skirt is I added a bias tape around that seam with the bodice and skirt so it wouldn't fray as much. I think this turned out to be such a cute summer dress. Like, I 100% will be wearing this come summertime. Like, it fits really, like, nicely. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. It feels really nice. I made preventative measures so it doesn't fray everywhere. And I think my eyes have gotten used to the gingham. Almost. Literally sewing this felt like a nightmare, like purgatory, just like staring into the void of these squares. But I think I'm getting used to it. And especially far away, you can't tell, but if you're like looking really close, then your eyes just start to bleed. So aside from the harshness of the gingham, I think I finally own something that's gingham that I've been wanting to own for a while. And this just turned out like really good. Yeah, I'm glad I went with the above the knee. I was playing around if I wanted it to be long because it did go like all the way down to my ankles. But I think I like the above the knee much better. It just makes it look a bit more summery and it gets some more airflow, which we'll need. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put some miles on this baby before the summer is out. So yeah, thank you for sticking around for a quick project this week. I'm back into sewing. I've been spending a few weeks not sewing, so I'm glad I finally got to get something sewing out. And I'm glad I got to get something off of my stash because I really need to start using my clothing item or my fabric stash a lot more. Oh yeah, and pertaining to the greenhouse that I did last week, I think I'm baking everything alive in this greenhouse, and it's not even the hottest it's gonna be this summer. The only thing that's growing is the flowers, surprisingly. The herbs haven't sprouted at all. We've put some other things that we had outside inside, and it immediately died. Like, literally the only thing sprouting right now is the flowers. So I have repotted some of the flower pots because the soil that I used wasn't the greatest, so I replaced some of the soil and replanted some of the flowers. So I think I'm just gonna be a flower gardener because that's the only thing sprouting right now. So I will put a little clip of my little sprout babies, but I guess I'll be a flower gardener until it gets cooler out. Then maybe I'll try growing some other things, but for now they're just baking alive. So yeah, I will keep you updated more throughout the weeks, if these flowers actually grow or if the sprouts just come up and then they die. We don't know. I might have to wait till like actual not 1,000 degrees outside to be gardening. So, but we're gonna try. We're gonna see what happens. So, ain't here to do. If you like what I did, go and like and subscribe. I post most Saturdays, mostly at noon, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.